In the headlines, security beefed up in Abuja following U.S. Embassy advisory on impending attacks. Islamic Development Bank approves nearly $2 billion funding for projects in Nigeria. WhatsApp services back after users battle to send and receive messages. Away from Nigeria, 11 children killed in school fire outbreak in central Uganda. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Ayuba Ila. Thank you for joining. And now the details. Beginning with security matters. Security has been beefed up in many places in the Federal Capital Territory following an alert of possible terror attack in some parts of the country, especially Abuja, the nation's capital. The United States Embassy in Nigeria had raised the alert, warning Americans in the country to be cautious of their movement in response to what the embassy called elevated risk of terror attacks in Nigeria, especially in Abuja. However, less than 48 hours, the embassy raised the alert. Security operatives from the Nigeria Air Force, Department of State Services, Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Army, and the Nigerian Immigration Services have beefed up security in the nation's capital. Heavy deployment of security personnel at soft targets like entry points to the city center, as well as churches, mosques, recreational and business centers is visible. Soldiers were also in the early hours of Monday deployed near the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. Residents in the FCT, including Western diplomats, have been increasingly worried about insecurity after a mass jailbreak from Kuje in July, a prison on the outskirts of the city. The Ogun State Police Command has confirmed the alleged killing of two brothers by some men of the Nigerian Army for smuggling foreign rice into the country in Iwode, Yewa South local government area of the state. The police public relations officer Abimbola Oyeyemi, who confirmed the killing, said that the incident also led to a protest by youths in the area. The incident, which happened on Sunday, angered the youths of the area who blocked the Sango Idiroko International Road. The mob reportedly attacked an officer of the Nigeria Air Force, killing him in retaliation. It was gathered that trouble started when the officers accosted the elder brother in an attempt to seize his vehicle, which contained bags of foreign parboiled rice, where the two brothers were allegedly shot by the officers, killing them instantly. According to eyewitnesses, the soldiers immediately fled the scene after shooting the siblings. The mob allegedly sent bonfires on the Sango Idiroko International Road, affecting vehicular movement for hours. Speaking on the incident, the Ogun State Police Public Relations Officer Abimbola said that the slain Air Force officer was in uniform when he unknowingly ran into the mob who lynched him. While the situation has been brought under control, the Public Relations Officer, however, said that the Commissioner of Police has directed the Homicide Section to take over the matter and unravel both the remote and immediate causes of the incident. Minister of Transportation says Abuja-Kaduna Railway will not be reopened until all arrangements are in place to make it secure. His assertion has elicited different reactions from the vendors and travelers who are mostly affected by the decision especially. In this report, Noel Samson balances these complaints against the advice of security experts on the issue.
The Nigerian Railway Corporation has suspended the operation of the train service linking Abuja to Kaduna on March 29 after terrorists attacked the train around Category, Regina area of Kaduna. During the attack, the train was carrying 360 passengers, 62 of whom were kidnapped. The consequent suspension of the train services had negatively impacted on the vendors around the train stations in Edu and Kuba, axis in the Federal Capital Territory.
I beg this train station, make government try me the opener. Because when this train they walk, I beg, with the same market, for that time, now market not every day.
Stopping of this train truly affect some of us were Okada people. Because
we know they see our business like that again. Before, when they are passing, they will be buying something for our hand. But now, not be like that.
The travelers who ply this route from Abuja to Kaduna via the rail system also share the frustrations of the continued shutdown of the train stations. This is in spite of the fact that some of them were only lucky to have escaped the terrorist attack that led to the shutdown of the train station.
I've traveled with the train for so many times, so I'm appealing for the federal government to reopen the rail line.
No, it's very surprising for us. The government, they would tell us they will not use the trains now because of waiting happen. So they support the train to start moving. You understand me? Even some business has come because people can move here so very early from Kaduna to come work for Abuja to go Kaduna, very easy.
Despite the protests of the vendors and travelers, security experts still believe the government is not comfortable with security along the rail tracks to restart operations.
Usually of our government, it's when, for instance, these abductees, the 23 abductees that have been rescued, in their usual manner, they would have just opened the rail stations for operations. But I think they have seen that they have rather taken our opinions and our advices into consideration this time. Otherwise, before now, like we all know, they would have opened the rail stations. So I think what they are trying to do now is to ensure that there's a proper clearance operations.
Government is caught between pleas that the station should be reopened and the security imperatives which must be put in place in order to prevent a reoccurrence of such a terrorist attack. Noel Samson, Trust TV News.
And on political matters, the ruling All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council says that the leading opposition People's Democratic Party has no capacity to act as a credible opposition. In a statement on Monday in Abuja, the Director of Public Affairs and Chief Spokesperson, Tinubu Shettima Presidential Campaign Council, Festus Keyamo, said that the 5-point agenda of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar is nothing to write home about. The Director of Strategic Communications of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Dele Momodu, had described the 80-page manifesto of the presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, released in Abuja on Saturday as an appropriation of MKO Abiola's legacy. But reacting, Keyamo, who doubles as the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, said one would have expected Dele Momodu to make clear comparative analysis between Hope 93 campaign document of MK Abiola and Tinubu's Renewed Hope document. Part of the statement said Atiku's 74-page campaign document has in it some ongoing milestones of President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. The Zamfara state government has said that made a U-turn on its ban on political activities in the state. In a statement, the state's Commissioner for Information, Ibrahim Dosara, said that the state government also approved the immediate reopening of Gumi, Anka and Bukuim local government areas, as well as all towns, roads and markets recently closed by the government due to heightened insecurity in some parts of the state. The statement said that the decision followed the satisfactory reports received on the security situation in the affected communities. The state government had, however, advised people to conduct themselves in accordance with the rule of law, noting that it will not condone any act capable of disrupting the peace. Now, residents of Maiduguri have tasked the incoming administration in the state to tackle insecurity, food crisis and electricity when it takes over in 2023. Borno State is recovering from the devastation of insurgency and will be holding its first election in local governments after 13 years of unrest. Beatrice Kurizi has more.
It's a new dawn in the capital city of Maiduguri, as posters and banners of candidates vying for political offices ahead of the 2023 election dot the length and breadth of the city. The state has suffered the woes of insurgency in the last decade, which has made it impossible for voting to hold in local governments. Although it held its first local government elections in November 2020, this time around, with displaced persons resettled in their communities, the state will join other states to cast ballots. Some residents are positive that they would perform their civic duty of participating in the electoral process.
We Borno State, we don't have even light, electric, you don't have it. We Borno State, we are so suffering. We are so suffering. So please, whoever came to president of next time, so please we excuse him to take us respond our problem.
This coming election, I don't think there is nothing like insurgency. We are now in peace. We are living in peace now. We are not thinking of anything like insurgency. Almighty Allah has helped us and accept our prayers that we did. Since from Ramadan up to date, we are seeking Allah to bring us peace.
This insurgency will stop for this election, for we now, for Borno. But for some states, I'm thinking that this thing will affect them, like Zamfara, you see, like Zamfara and those Igbo people. Maybe this thing will disturb them. But I pray may this thing not happen, so that we proud for our Nigeria.
For many, the excuse of insecurity as a reason for not participating in the polls is no more tenable, as the number of surrendered terrorists keeps rising with each passing day.
No, to me, look at the forecast of attacks that are happening and then the gravity of the situation compared to the last election. I think we will all give kudos to all actors that have played a role, the military, the government, and then the civil society. So I think I don't see a red flag about election not happening, unless it will be created for not to allow the election to happen. But under normal circumstances, things are happening and people have access to their communities. Despite maybe one or two communities that maybe it will take time for you to reach that community.
The 2023 elections will serve as a litmus test that would confirm the restoration of peace and normalcy in the Northeast region.
A federal high court sitting in Abuja has ordered final forfeiture of 2 Abuja property and 2 luxury cars belonging to a former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani Alison Madueke, to the federal government. The presiding judge, Justice Mobolaji Olajuwon, on Monday gave the order forfeiting the assets to the federal government while ruling on the application by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The EFCC had in November last year secured the interim forfeiture of the assets in a ruling on a separate motion ex parte filed in September, praying that the court to order the interim forfeiture of the assets on the grounds of reasonable suspicion that they were proceeds of unlawful activities. The 2 properties are located at plot 1854 Muhammad Mahashir Street and number 6 Aso Drive in the highbrow Asokoro and Maitama district of Abuja, valued at $2.6 US and 380 million naira respectively. The luxury cars are black BMW Saloon and a black Jaguar Saloon car valued at 36 million naira. In granting the interim forfeiture order, Justice Olajuwon had ordered the EFCC to publish a notice in a national newspaper inviting anyone with interest in the assets to show cause why they should not be finally forfeited to the federal government. In the absence of any contestation of the interim order, the court today forfeited the property to the federal government. Now, the federal government on Monday launched the first phase of the special agro-industrial processing zones in Abuja. The Islamic Development Bank announced nearly $2 billion funding as International Fund for Agricultural Development, and African Development Bank are also expected to change the face of Nigeria's agricultural sector. Chamung Dabeng has more.
The first phase of the program will commence in 8 locations across the country, namely Kano, Imo, Kaduna, Cross River, Kwara, Oyo, Ogun, and the FCT. Nigeria's fragile economy has had to deal with high rates of inflation brought on by the lingering effects of COVID-19, insecurity, flooding, and global inflationary pressures which have been exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine war, worsening Nigeria's food insecurity.
To help member countries cope with this new challenge, the bank approved in last July, a food security response program worth $10.5 billion. Nigeria will be among the first countries to benefit from this program. The Islamic Development Bank Regional Hub of Abuja team is working on the second phase of the National Program for Food Security project to be approved before the end of this year for an estimated $30 million.
I am also delighted to announce today a special new significant contribution by IFAD for Nigeria in response to the flooding. This is a grant funding of almost $5 million to be invested in climate-resilient agriculture.
Nigeria's agricultural sector is the second largest contributor to the country's GDP, and with about 34 million hectares of arable land, the potentials for the sector are endless.
The program was recently approved by the Federal Executive Council. It is a major cross-cutting value chain investment effort driven by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in alignment with the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Policy of the federal government to incentivize agro-industrialization for private sector development. So specifically, the SAPZ program, or SAPZ program, is designed to develop multiple clusters of agricultural transformation centers, or ATCs, and agro-industrial hubs, AIHs, within major clusters of high agricultural production.
President of AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, said what Africa does will determine the food future of the world, adding that Nigeria must tackle insecurity to allow private sector investments and end food insecurity in the nation. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching the news update on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at Imam who saved 262 Christians. Details of this and more after the break.
Coleman quality, Coleman durable, Coleman cable for any kind of project. Come and be the come and see, come and be the Coleman won't light up your line. Come and be the come and see, come and be the COLEMENA. Quality, durable, oh yeah. Now come and be the Baba.
Welcome back. This is the news update on Trust Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories again. Security beefed up in Abuja following U.S. Embassy advisory on impending attacks. Islamic Development Bank approves nearly $2 billion funding for projects in Nigeria. Now, in other news, global media and information consumers have been tasked to critically evaluate usage with a view to tackling the rise in disinformation and hate content that could lead to human catastrophe. The charge was handed down at the opening ceremony of the 11th Global Media and Information Literacy Week holding on Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman has more.
Speaking on theme of this year's session, which is Nurturing Trust, a media and information literacy imperative, President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by his Chief of Staff Professor Ibrahim Gambari, underscores the necessity for actors to work in building common standard that balances between information rights and responsibilities.
Misinformation and disinformation have been used to aggravate conflicts and crises, exacerbate insecurity, distort government efforts, fuel apprehension among the citizens, and create distrust between the governments and their peoples.
Assistant Director General, Communication and Information of UNESCO, Taufik Jalasi, emphasizes the need to make information a public trust and good, not a source of destruction of humanity.
We want information to be a public good, not to become increasingly a public harm. And we know about all these issues of disinformation, hate speech online, cyberbullying, online harassment, and the like. So how can we ensure that information truly stays as a public good?
Nigeria's Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, tasked information consumers to equip themselves with the basic literacy as prerequisite for dealing with rampaging disinformation in the media space.
This is very important in a digital era of information overload because it allows us all to differentiate what is true and what is false.
Physical and virtual media and information icons from around the globe are taking part in the various sessions of the GIL Week, which is expected to end on Friday. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, residents of Ngaro community of Barkin Ladi local government area of Plateau State are celebrating the Islamic cleric Imam Abdullahi Abubakar, who saved the lives of over 260 Christians in the area. Imam Abdullahi had on June 23, 2018, shielded over 262 Christians in his mosque and his house when gunmen attacked Ngaro community and its environs. Trust TV's Ado Musa, who visited the community, reports that members of the community were delighted when the Imam made the list of the 447 recipients of the National Honor 2022 conferred on them by President Muhammadu Buhari. Ado Musa completes the story.
Imam Abdullahi has been receiving national and international awards since 2018, when he risked his life to save the lives of his Christian neighbors for his selfless service to humanity. The recent recognition for the Imam was the National Honor Award 2022 by President Muhammadu Buhari. Da Maful Mangai, ward head of the village, and Pastor Joseph Audu, who were among those shielded by the Imam in the mosque, shared their experiences of the attack.
Me, myself, I was running. I passed through this mosque. The Imam and his deputy and some subject. They called me and come and enter there. My mind said that if I enter there, maybe there is a plan. I want to run. One mind tell me that I just come back. I enter inside the mosque. When I enter inside the mosque, I meet our people, Christian inside the mosque and Muslim inside the mosque. Some they are crying. So Muslim and Christian, they are crying inside the mosque.
The Dua bear their minds on the recognition of the heroics of Imam Abdullahi by the president.
I was grateful for that year of the day because even myself, I did inside the mosque very that day. So I know that we lost a lot of people, about 88 people inside the passports, 2 passports, 1 for cooking, 1 for CLC.
Other residents of the community also expressed their pleasure over the national honor, saying the Imam had deserved to be celebrated and emulated. Speaking on why he protected the Christians, Imam Abdullahi said he saw no reason why innocent human beings should be killed for nothing. My reason for shielding the Christian is this: God has created human beings animals, vegetation, and other living things in the rivers, all for different purposes. So, why will you kill your fellow human being? I can't live watching this is happening to my fellow. I told the attackers that if they wanted to kill them, they should kill me first. He also speaks on what the honor conferred on him means to him. This national honor conferred on me means everything to me. My joy for the honor is limitless. I can't equate the joy to anything. Anything that can be imagined can be ended. But this can't be imagined. Only God knows how I feel. I pray for the president to live a healthy life. His son, Abdullahi Saleh, expressed joy over his father's gesture.
He happy, very, very happy. I was very excited, and up to now, I'm excited. The kind of happiness I'm feeling cannot be described.
More than 80 people who could not able to reach the mosque and the house of the Imam were killed during the attack and later given mass burial. However, with all heroic moments witnessed by the affected communities, residents say all the promises made to them after the incident by the government were yet to be fulfilled, adding that they still lack good roads, healthcare centers, among other social amenities in the area.
All right, now the messaging app WhatsApp is back after millions of users of the social media platform were unable to send and receive messages. Nigerians and other users of the instant communication app owned by Meta had reported that they were unable to either receive or send messages. Tuesday's outage began around 8 a.m. with several of the users heading to other social media platforms like Twitter to lament the development. Both the mobile and web versions of the app experienced similar issues. According to officials, a school fire broke out on Tuesday in the region of Mukono in central Uganda, which resulted in the death of 11 pupils and 6 others in critical condition. A police statement released locally said that the unfortunate incident at Salama School for the Blind happened in the early hours of the morning. According to the statement by the police, the cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained. In Uganda, school fires frequently break out, and the most recent fire occurred in January when 4 kids perished in Kampala, the capital city. And that's a wrap on the news update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.